Hello guys and girls, or girls and guys, whatever you are. Thanks for watching. I'm down here. I've fished the tide out now. It's pretty much low tide. I'm going to fish it coming in. Obviously I've had a wrasse, but I've not had a single touch of a bass yet, so I'm fingers crossed mega spot number one is going to pay me its dues today, because I've not caught a fish from here since last year and I want one. So yeah, wish me luck. I'll see you in a bit. Hopefully I'll get one. Right, so we're about low tide now. I don't know if any of you ever seen, I've done a video a little while ago when I was off my hand operations. I've done a video on like mastering watercraft, I called it. And I based it on this spot and how me and Duncan fished this spot through experience and through fishing it a lot, how we approach it and how we fish it. So yeah, I mean, when I done the video, I wanted to kind of show you, but I had to show you on Google Maps. It wasn't that easy, but I'm now on the Rock of Plenty. The Rock of Plenty. I'm standing on the Rock of Plenty. If I come and get up here, so this rock is, you can see I'm kind of stuck up here on this rock. You have to wait for the tide to go out. Obviously I'm standing over there when I get here, and we fish into this pool. See this pool here, and a pool there, and this pool goes all the way round, and then you've got a gully all the way down here, gully all the way down, and there's a sort of a way in the other side, tide. And as the tide comes out, we get onto this rock, and then we can fish this gully, we can fish this side, this gully, and then we can fish this gully in front of me here, which is what we do basically. We fish this gully here in front of me, and then where the waves are coming through there, we've had some smashing sessions just fishing out into that. I think the bass sort of come in. Sometimes it's on the way in, sometimes it's on the way out that they come in. It's how it always works. It usually, bass fishing, I find you fish a tide 4-6 hours, and in 40 minutes you catch all the bass you catch, and after 40 minutes it just seems to stop and then go away. So yeah, like I say, we work from over there as at high tide, and we fish those pool and the gully in front of this rock, and then we get on this rock and we can fish down this gully here, down this gully here. We can fish all this gully here. You can stand on that rock over there and fish into there. We had some good fish there, really nice fish. I think they come in through that channel from the bay there. I don't fish the bay an awful lot, if I'm honest with you, because it's so good on this rock. We don't bother with the bay. On a really high tide, when the water completely goes from this rock, I'll go and stand on them rocks there and fish out into the bay. And I have had the odd fish. Out there, but it seems to be round here we get the bites. So yeah, that's how we approach it. If you want to know more about it, go and watch the video I did, Mastering Watercrafts. You might learn some things, you might not. You might think I'm a complete dickhead and I don't know what I'm going on about, but there you go, everyone's got their opinion. But yeah, this is mega spot number 1, we call it. It's not too mega today. It's not living up to its name, but there's always time, because it's just high tide now. The tide will start pushing in. On a really big tide, this empties out, this gully, and we can go through it, walk through it, stand on them rocks out there. But again, when it's been really big tides here, I've not found it fished very well, to be honest, on the massive tides when the tide goes right out. We've had the odd fish out there, but there doesn't seem to be many fish in here when it's the really big tides. But that might just be coincidence. It could just be coincidence. But yeah, that's how I fish it. So I've probably got another 2 hours, and then I'll have to get off this rock before I get cut off as the tide comes in. So yeah, I'm going to stand here and fish. And if you've got nothing better to do, feel welcome to watch me. Feel welcome to carry on watching me till I get off this rock, or till my phone runs out of battery. I'm having problems with my GoPro at the minute, so it's difficult. Me and Dunk were out yesterday, and we did have a couple of bass, but I've got no video footage from it because my GoPro wouldn't work. I've contacted GoPro. I've got a subscription, so I should be able to get another one repaired, what sent out. I've got to send mine back, and it's going to be a right pain in the balls, if I'm quite honest with you, and I'm going to be stuck doing live videos on my phone. So there we are. That's what I'm going to be doing for the time being. I'm going to start fishing again, I think, because it looks to me like that tide's already starting to push back in. So yeah, I'm going to get the lure back out there in the hope the little spikies will turn up, and we might have something to see, but you might not. You might just get to see these wonderful surroundings on this lovely sunny day, get to see my ugly mug chucking a lure out in it, but that's what fishing's all about, eh? Alright, I'll see you in a bit. What lure? My AliExpress at the minute. I'm fishing this AliExpress. I love these lures. Get them off AliExpress. I've got a weedless set up on today, because obviously it's pretty rocky. You can see all them rocks sticking up. If I didn't have a weedless set up on, I'd probably have lost about 100 lures by now. But these nothing special about these. Paddle tail, it's about 4 inches long. It's got a weedless hook on a 14 gram jig head. Yeah, that's hello Nick, how you doing? Hello Doomslayer, hello David. I prefer the ebb on most spots, but this spot just doesn't seem to ever really make a lot of sense. One day it'll be on the ebb, one day it'll be on the flood. Some days you just catch them on the flood and the ebb, you just catch them all day long. So yeah, here it's a bit different, this spot. When it's on and it's really good. Some days you get them on the way out, some days you get them on the way in, but as a rule I do prefer to fish the ebb. I don't know why, I just seem to catch more fish. What do you prefer to fish, mate? We've all got our own ways. I know people that always fish low tide, and I usually like to fish from high tide, prefer a bit of water, but I know people that fish low tide and they fish in shin depth water and they catch loads of fish. It never seems to work for me. I don't know what I do wrong, but yeah, everyone seems to be leaving, so I'm gonna stop talking and get fishing. See you in a bit. any of you guys are wondering why when I get in close I'm letting the lure drop and then jigging it in front of the rock, that's why. It's getting a bit boring, if I'm honest. I've been here a few hours now and I've got no bass, and I think I've just had a knock off a wrasse. So yeah, if you kind of jig your lure, let lift and draw, that's the way to fish for bass. So that's what I do when I get sort of 20 foot out. I lift and draw in the hope that I can lure a bass in that's hiding under one of them rocks. And then when you get in front of the rock, there's usually a ledge under the rock. Just jig your lure up and down, just vertically jig it up and down, so your lure's kind of going up and down in the water like that. And the wrasse love that. They just can't seem to resist it. I had one earlier doing it, so yeah, I was trying every now and again for a bit of entertainment on the end of my retrieve. So yeah, that's why I'm doing that. the old sidewinder a go for a bit. See what happens. To be honest with you, I think they're here, it won't matter what lure I'm using. Both of these lures, they're proven catchers. Done really well on the sidewinders down here, but then we only really fished the sidewinders down here last year because I did have the weedless jigs for the paddle tails. So I know them paddle tails, if there's bass around, I'm like 98% confident that paddle tail there will catch it. But let's give it a go with one of these, just to make sure. might stick paddle tail back on, I think. I'm struggling to work it at the minute. Cheers, Kadir. And yeah, I can do that. So what, so do you mean sort of show the area every 10-15 minutes, come back to my bag and show the area to you guys every 10 to 15 minutes? I'm just thinking the same thing as you pretty much, mate. So at the moment you can see is that there ain't a lot of water really. It was low tide at about 1:10 and there's not an awful lot of water there. There's a couple of feet of water there, a few feet of water. You can see it's just starting to flood in there. See, that's flooding in there. One good thing to try and do, see where that water's flooding off that rock. On that rock there'll be loads of little blennies and fish all hiding, and when the tide sort of floods in like that, you see it coming in, see that wave coming in now? So that tide, that will wash some of them out and they'll spill into this bit. So if the bass are there, they'll be looking at that and they'll be waiting. So what we kind of tend to do is I'll have one cast out this way into that area out there, and then I'll have one cast down here where that flooding water comes down there, and then see where the water's coming in over there. We fish off that rock and you can fish to the end there and pull back, or I could stand here, sort of down here, and I could fish out to here. So that flooding water is them fish that would get washed off would then kind of either come this way or that way. I can't fish that way, but I can fish through there. And you're kind of emulating what they're used to then. They're used to seeing those fish get washed off the rocks. And if you put your lure down there and just bring it back, you're emulating a fish getting washed off, and then, oh shit, I've got to hide somewhere, excuse my language, it's a live stream, I've got to hide somewhere, so they're trying to swim to go somewhere, and the bass are used to seeing that. That's what they're hunting for. They're hunting for those fish in distress. They're hunting for those things that are out of their comfort zone in this just chaos of currents and water. So yeah, you can see it's flooding in now. In another 20 minutes or so, when those rocks, just these rocks here, when they kind of, then the water's at the top of them, it's ideal, and I'll be fishing. But yeah, this is sort of, the tide's starting to come in now. You can see it starting to flood in. Every few sets of waves you'll get that push through there, where it pushes through now. You see that wave coming there, that's going to push through into that bit, and it's going to push through down that gully there, knocking all the fish off, crabs off, shrimp out the weeds. See that coming through now? Look, that flood, that's flooding through, it's knocking everything out, pushing it out into the bass's mouths. Basically it's like sitting there waiting for candy to get thrown in their mouths. So yeah, there's nothing in this gully yet. Sometimes there's a lobby down here in a hole. I managed to get it out because I always forget to bring my stick, but if you can see that little rock pool there underneath that ledge there, sometimes you get a lobster. I've seen a few lobsters down there when we've been fishing down here, and I do have to start to remember to bring my lobster stick down, the little metal bar with a crook on the end, so that I can try and get them out because I want to catch one. Yeah, that's it really. The minute, give it another 20 minutes and it'll be up a little bit more, and I'll be fishing then, and then it's the battle of fish until you get, like, you got to get off the rock. Because what I do have to do every now and again, I have to come up over the rock just for safety's instance. And when this gully down here starts to flood and this gully down here starts to flood, I've got to keep coming round here and checking my exit. There's two ways out over those boulders there, so it'll start to flood into this pool, and those boulders sort of form a stepping stone. And then there's also, I personally think this left hand side you can get out a little bit later, gives you a little bit more time. This is the way I came on today. So this gully down here will flood, and what I do is I get down here, onto that rock, 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 and then back home, basically. And then you do get a bit more time. You can then fish here. Depends how fed up you are, really, to be honest. If it's a good day, you've got more reason to stay, if you get what I'm saying. And you're probably inclined to fish for longer. If it's not happening, it can beat the. You get a bit fed up, and it's why it's not called shopping. That's why it's called fishing. Because sometimes it don't work, and that's the excitement of it in my eyes. Every time I go out, this morning I went out and I was full of anticipation. I was full of what's going to happen. Am I going to get any? Is it going to be a good day down here? And it's that excitement that keeps you going, because you don't catch every time. I don't catch every time. No one catches every time. If you caught every time, it probably get pretty boring, to be honest. But then if you don't catch a lot, it gets boring as well. So it's a fine line fishing. It's we're moany sods, us fishermen. It's always either too windy or too wet or too sunny, not enough wind, too much waves, not enough waves. It's really fine line, conditions wise, etc., to get those perfect conditions where you get those red letter days. But when you get those red letter days, me and Duncan were down here last year and we had 7 bass in a few hours, like 3 or 4 hours. We had 7 bass and they were all good bass. Every single one of them was keeper sized bass. There was like, I think £4 something, £4.5 was the biggest. It's just an amazing fishing session, absolutely amazing fishing session. You can see it flooding in again now. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking rubbish, because I think I bore people, if I'm honest. And every 10 to 15 minutes, so of course I can show you the area every 10 to 15 minutes and give you an idea of how that flood and that head works, doesn't it, I suppose? Yeah, of course. Now it's flooding a treat now, you see that? So we just got another push on the tide and it proper come through. You can see those rocks there are starting to get covered now. So like every set of wave brings one of those pushes, and it slowly floods up. I've got no explanation as to when or why the bass come in at a particular time. They just seem to come, but it always seems to be like, it's not like, well, never has been yet. I might prove them wrong, and it might be because we don't fish as hard when it's like this, but it never seems to be when it's quite like this. It always seems to be once those rocks start to get covered, there starts to be a decent bit of water in here. That's when you seem to get the bites. So yeah. lure body's at it now. Every time the head bumps a rock, the lure body slips off like that, look. So I'm going to put a new one on. They're only cheap. I get 7 for £1 from AliExpress. They come in these packets. And being that cheap, I ain't tight with them, do you know what I mean? If they start to do that, I just stick a new one on and I throw the old one in a bin. It don't bother me at all. I think they're £1.15 and I think you get 7 in the packet, so they're pence, do you know what I mean? It's not worth it. So the way I rig them, that's the weedless jig head. That would be the way it goes up, with the hook like that way up, with the paddle tail down. So I jig them, I go in the nose, and then I nick out the front like that on the bottom. So that's the bottom of the tail there. And then I thread it through, I spin the hook to push that paddle tail on the body onto the kink at the end of the hook. And then I measure it up with my fingers. That's about where the hook is. And then I go in at the bottom in the groove, and then I come out the top, look. See, it's coming out the top now. Out the top, bring it out the top, and then if you want to tuck it in, just pull the lure forward and poke the spike of the hook in, and then you can weed the setup. Obviously, the more I've had a wrasse on this, so it's been pulled quite violently, and it keeps coming off, and I keep putting it on, and the more you do that, the looser that hole gets where you prick it at the front, and then it starts coming off all the time. And when you hit a rock, the vibration come off all the time. So yeah, I just stick a new one on, don't worry about it, because I'm not paying £7 a lure. I'm not fussed, do you know what I mean? That way a little bit, you might be able to see what's going on there. Well, that's flooded in nice now. Yeah, just like magic. Look, those rocks are nearly covered. See the rocks that I was saying about Cadell? They're nearly covered now. We're having to push every set of waves. We're getting a push, and it's getting higher and higher. Around there. Not really filling up on the gullies on the side yet. So I've got a good while here. I've got a good few hours. I don't know how much battery I've got left on my phone. 34%, so yeah, you might get another hour maybe on the live stream, and then my phone's going to run out of battery, but I'm sure most of you will be bored and turned off by then. Tell you what I'm going to do, guys, because I've only got 4%, I'm going to turn off the live stream, and if I get into the bass, I'll start another one, so that you actually get to see something. So yeah, cheers for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.